I am going to shift the way that you look at calories forever. You see, when it comes down to getting in the best shape, when it comes down to burning fat, there's a couple simple things that you have to understand. But first and foremost, we need to know what this is. This is 5 pounds of fat, all right? That equals 17,500 calories. That means that you need to be in a deficit of 17,500 calories to burn this much fat. So now let me ask you a question. Does it matter whether you are in a calorie deficit over the course of one day, or over the course of 2 days, or maybe even over the course of a week? You see, it really comes down to thermodynamics and how much calories in, calories out, but over a different scale, not just over one day. You see, so this is where we need to shift the paradigm as to how we look at things. It doesn't matter what you're consuming over the course of one day. Why? Because your body doesn't know what 24 hours is. That's up here. You see, we've developed a cognitive awareness of 24 hours. 24 hours, in essence, is kind of this artificial man-made thing. Okay? We know the sun goes down, we know the moon comes up, we know it gets dark, all that. We know what 24 hours is, but does our physiology truly know? I mean, outside of our circadian rhythm, outside of our sleep-wake cycle, does our bioenergetics, does our body really know what 24 hours is? Let me make some sense of this. Okay, we are always told that we need to focus on how many calories we consume over a 24-hour period of time. It's a simple, quantifiable unit of time that allows us to have some ease when it comes down to tracking our calories. But knowing what we know about the body not truly knowing what 24 hours is that really the way that we should look at it? You see, if you look at consuming calories over the course of a day, you're just assuming that we have this clock that resets at midnight and our caloric needs reset to 0 every midnight. That's not the case. Our calories are ever revolving, whether we're sleeping, whether it's midnight, whether it's 2 a.m. We always have a need for calories and we always need to be in somewhat of a deficit. But sometimes we're going to be in a surplus and sometimes we're going to be in a deficit. You see, at the very minute that you are eating food, you're in a surplus. That very second, that very frozen point in time, of course you're in a surplus. You are consuming more than you're burning, unless you're maybe eating something that has so little calories that it doesn't matter. Okay, if you are taking a bite of steak or taking a bite of a burrito, at that very second in time, you are in a caloric surplus. Does that mean that you're getting fat? No. Okay, so when we look at it from the course of a day, it's just as crazy. We are freezing this moment in time and we're thinking that this is the end-all be-all for our calories? No, no, no. Back it up. Take a look through a wide lens for a second. Think about it over the course of a few days, over the course of a week. Stop measuring your calories daily. That's just going to drive you crazy. And all you're doing is becoming a victim to all the self-proclaimed diet gurus that are out there that only look at studies and only look at this artificial breakdown of day in and day out. Honestly, this part just irks me. I've been called a liar. I've been called all kinds of names. I've been called everything that you could ever think of. I've had hate mail. I've had death threats. I've had all kinds of stuff coming into my inbox because of my philosophy when it comes down to diet. And it's usually coming from people that only look at it through such a small little lens that they can never figure out what is really going on in life. You see, we have so many different things to factor in than what is happening on a daily level. Okay, what about bioenergetics? What about different catalysts that elicit more of a powerful metabolic response? Okay? Now, sure, I will give credit where credit is due. At the end of the day, calories in versus calories out do matter. But at what point do calories in versus calories out just cause you to die? If you were to go for a certain amount of time in a calorie deficit, you would obviously not function anymore. But at what point does fat gain start? Does it start at 24 hours of a calorie surplus? Or does it start at 3 days of a calorie surplus? Or does it start at 90 seconds of a calorie surplus? It's always occurring. It's always a checks and balances. And if we didn't have other hormonal factors, okay, other catecholamines like adrenaline, epinephrine, and stuff like that, factoring in, then that would mean that every time we eat food, we're putting ourselves in this net gain of calories. You get what I'm saying? So we do have to factor in so many different things. For example, glucagon. Okay, glucagon is the body's hormonal response to an absence of food, where it allows blood sugar to come into the bloodstream from its glycogen stores because we are in the absence of food or calories. Okay, this is obviously a very, very optimized fat-burning state. If we were to go an extended period of time between meals, we allow ourselves to activate that pathway. If we're eating frequently, we're not activating that pathway. But again, we don't know what our caloric needs really are. So if you look at calories in, calories out over the course of 7 days or even longer, I think you get a better grasp on things. So rather than saying, okay, I need to consume X amount of calories per day, think about how much you need to consume per week. Let me give you an example here. If you need 3,000 calories just to maintain your weight every day, if that's roughly what you figured your BMR is, that's 21,000 calories over the course of a single week that you would be consuming to maintain the same weight. Okay, well, let's make things really simple. If you go one day where you fast, okay, that's going to be roughly a 3,000 calorie deficit. That's almost a pound a week right there. Meaning you could eat your typical 3,000 calories throughout the entire course of the week with the absence of one day, and you'll be in a situation where you're burning almost a pound a week, versus trying to shrink your calories down little bit by little bit every single day just to appease all the internet gurus that say 24 hours is all that matters. Thomas DeLauer is a bad guy. He's telling you to fast. Guys, it doesn't matter whether you're fasting, whether you're doing keto, or whatever you're doing, whether you are a CrossFitter, whether you are an endurance runner, a marathon runner, whether you are a swimmer, I don't care. Calories in, calories out cannot be determined by a 24-hour man-made artificial period of time. Look at it through a wider lens, and you'll suddenly look at life through a wider lens. And I promise you, you won't be confined to this narrow-minded thinking that is making you miserable. I'll see you in the next video.